I'm Anita, and we are really excited to share with you these delicious holiday snacks that we have prepared today. And we made some snacks that are not only delicious, but they also help support your health during this winter season. And we thought that it would be interesting to take kind of a different spin on holiday snacks because the Bastyr Clinic is an integrative clinic, and we have practitioners from Oriental medicine disciplines here as well. We decided that we would make one recipe that kind of exemplified the traditional Chinese medicine approach to eating healthy during the winter season. And we've got another recipe that exemplifies the Ayurvedic medicine approach to eating healthy in the winter. And so we are not students in those programs, and if we bungle our explanations a little bit, we would highly encourage you to visit students in our acupuncture and oriental medicine shifts so that you could learn a little more about that nutrition as well. And we will also be talking just about general healthy eating tips during the holidays. So before Stephanie and I get into the recipes, we kind of wanted to get some ideas from you. I know coming into this workshop, you might feel like you're a little nervous about overeating during the holiday season or gorging on sugar and treats. So what concerns do you have? What worries do you have going into the holiday season? And maybe what tips do you have as well for kind of avoiding excess during the holidays? Does anyone have any thoughts on that? Yeah.
I think drinking lots of water is a good way to fill up before you go to anything. Plus, probably a snack too of healthy stuff. What about dips? They could be. You think you're eating healthy when you have veggies and dips, but the dips can be deadly, I guess, or very fatty.
Yeah, well, it certainly depends on the dip, and we're going to share with you a dip recipe today that is kind of vegetable and fiber rich. One tip that we like to talk about is to follow a balanced plate model in your plate at the party. So make sure that you still have half your plate fruits and vegetables, even if you're snacking, so that you can still include some of those richer dips and sweets, as long as half the plate is fruits and vegetables. So that's kind of one thought.
And the wonderful thing about fatty dips is some of our vitamins are fat-soluble vitamins that we get from our vegetables, and we kind of need that fat to help carry it into our body. And so there's really not any bad foods out there, it's just all in moderation. And we'll just talk about that some more. It's good to get away from that kind of mentality and just embrace what we like.
Yeah, any other tips that people have? Especially when you're going to a holiday party, what you do that might work for you to eat healthy?
Or tips for healthy snacks?
Yeah.
No problem if you don't have any, but we always like to learn from you guys too.
Yeah, and that drinking water is a good one. I know that, sometimes when we alternate water and other drinks at parties, that can be helpful. Sometimes I have to throw my own parties so that I make sure that I have a balanced selection of fruits and vegetables at the party. So that's a thought. Well, one of the things that here at the Bastyr Clinic that we think is a really important way of looking at eating healthy during the holidays is the how of eating. So it's not just what you're eating, but it's kind of how you're choosing your food. And if you look at eating over the holidays as kind of an extension of just being mindful and aware of your body the whole year and what your body wants, that this is a concept called mindful eating, then really you're going to be good. And Stephanie is going to talk to you a little more about mindful eating and how that impacts our holiday season.
We're going to talk a little bit about what we call intuitive eating, and then we're going to get into all of our food. But I did, in the pamphlet that you guys have in the packet, there's 9 tips for just principles on intuitive eating, and they all make sense just to read them, but I thought if I explained them a little bit more when you guys go home, the words might resonate at different times when you want to look at them. So in the 9th tip, I don't cover, I just cover the first 8 because the 9th is pretty much just as it says. So the first one is rejecting the diet mentality. At Bastyr, we kind of stray from certain kind of diet mentalities and limitations that we put on ourselves that culturally seem to be really prevalent in our society. And I guess going into the holiday seasons, everybody's really scared about the weight gain and this and that and eating the wrong things. And ironically, statistics have shown the average weight that people gain between Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's, between that time, is actually only 1 pound. So that big slice of pie that you have, or that day of eating a ton at the party, it's not gonna, there's gonna be fluctuation, it's all gonna work out. So just enjoying the holidays, getting away from the diet mentality, and just getting away from that helps you also learn how to rediscover your intuitive eating senses. Honor your hunger. So this is something I think a lot of us do at the holiday times, is know that we have a party we're going to, we're hungry for dinner, but we have a party we're going to, so we skip dinner, we go to the party, we're in excessive hungerness, and so we just eat a lot of things to kind of, our body's ravenous, and we're not able to really clue into our hunger cue, we're not really able to clue into our satiety cues, and things that are just letting us know like what our body really needs. So just all year round, just honoring your hunger. When you need to eat, make sure you have enough meals a day to honor that. Making peace with food, and I talked about this a little bit, giving yourself permission, unconditional permission to eat whatever foods you want, when you want them, how you want them, honoring your cravings, honoring what you need, because at that time, to be able to satisfy that, it lets go of the barriers and restrictions we sometimes put on ourselves. And following that, feeling your fullness, learning signs of fullness within yourself, ways that stop us from sometimes being able to just feel our fullness is distractions, like eating in front of the TV, trying to work on work or work on the computer while eating, maybe being at a holiday party and trying to stuff our food down while we're also trying to do a million other things. Just being a little bit more conscious of what your body cues are saying. Sit down, have time to eat, make time to eat, socialize when you eat with your friends, and make it an enjoyable experience. Our fifth one on the paper, it just says, feel pleasure and satisfaction in the eating experience. That's just what I talked about before. Eat what you eat, when you want to eat, in an inviting environment to enjoy your food. The more time that you have pleasure and contentment with your food, the easier it is to feel the satiety of your food and be able to eat with pleasure. So don't cope with your emotions with food. Try to deal with your emotions on another level, because a lot of times when we cope with emotions with food, we tend to overeat and then provide guilt to ourselves. So that's just a tip I'm sure everybody does at times, and anxiety, anger, loneliness, boredom, sadness can trigger cravings to fill those holes with food, and we're just trying to put out the thoughts that let's try to find some other ways to cope with that in the holiday season. And just respect your body. I love this one because it talks about everybody has our natural blueprint. If you have a size 8 foot, you're not going to try to squeeze your foot in a size 6 shoe. So just learning how to be okay with who we are and where our body's at, honoring ourselves, and then lastly, honoring our health. Learning how to eat foods that make us feel good and are good for our body, but not to expect that of ourselves all the time. So just, there's a day, there's a week, there's a month you're not doing that, but just trying to carry that idea that like, this feels good to my body. And that's just kind of what we want to promote here.
Yeah. And kind of remembering too that food is not the only way that we can have pleasure during the holiday season, because the holidays are also about having fun with friends and family, and we want to remember the activities that we do during winter that bring us pleasure. A cup of hot cocoa is not the same without sledding or some sort of physical activity beforehand. So kind of remembering the other fun things that we do in the winter besides eating.
I forgot to mention, there's a wonderful piece that I didn't feel I had time to, I thought this might be better to go over the principles, but I'd love it if you guys took the time to read the piece, What is Normal Eating by Ellen Satter. She is a family therapist and licensed registered dietitian who's been in the field of understanding eating and behaviors of eating. I'm sorry, don't have to write anything down, I put it in there for you guys. It's just a wonderful reminder that it says what is normal eating, and normal eating is everything. And it's a really liberating piece, and I hope you guys can go home and enjoy that. She's very paired with some of the intuitive eating. She's one of she's not a co-founder of it, but she's speaking to that, and I brought one of her books. Actually, I'll show it to you guys.
Yeah, she's a really
I just
great
want to reference
resource.
it. She's written a lot of great books, but my favorite is Secrets of Feeding a Healthy Family. a lot of her work goes into taking the parenting, empowering the eating up to the kids, and putting the parenting back into the actual feeding. So it's interesting. So this is Ellen Satter.
Yeah, great resource there. And so we do with intuitive eating and mindful eating, we think about honoring the body, the mind, and the spirit during the holiday season. And that kind of helps us transition into the Ayurvedic way of looking at nutrition during the holidays, because Ayurveda, which hails from Indian medical tradition, has some important things to say about that. And so Stephanie has prepared for us a delicious tea that I will pass out to you guys.
So we're trying to find a substitute for, not that eggnog is something you shouldn't have, but we're also trying to find a warming Ayurvedic approach to the season. And Ayurveda is a natural healing system that was originated in India over 5,000 years ago. When the nomads moved from northeastern Europe to the foothills of the Himalayas, there were the scientists back then were called sages, and they went off into the woods for about 10 years to study the energy between the plants and the understanding of the plants, humans, and the environment, and how the similarities between all of us and how the systems work. And they came up with a couple of theories, and one is called the 5 elements theory. So in your packet, you might see these circles and shapes and stuff, and in Ayurvedic nutrition and Ayurvedic medicine, let's see this packet, they talk about the 5 elements, actually, for that. So the 5 fundamental energetic building blocks of the physical world that's responsible for all physical existence. These 5 elements are present in all of us and in every living thing in the Ayurvedic principles. So that's space, air, fire, water, and earth. The 5 elements theory that they hold contributes to what they call the 3 doshas theory. The 3 doshas are, they take those 5 elements, and you can see the doshas right there. I'll tell you about them. They combine it into, these elements combine together in pairs to create 3 doshas. And these are 3 dynamic energy principles that each living being, each plant, each part of the earth is supposed to be composed of. And so these doshas are present everywhere, and there's it's called the Procreati, which is known as our constitution, our innate self. We have 3 doshas synergistically working within us, as according to Ayurvedic theory, but one dosha is usually most predominant, which brings about our physical characteristics, it brings about our way that we think about things, our mental process, our emotional process, the way we interact with our environment. The aim for Ayurvedic nutrition is to balance our doshas within our system, honoring our Procreati, being able to find out which dosa predominates in you, and being able to promote balance. And that's supposed to provide lifelong longevity, health, happiness, and mental clarity. Coming with that, as you'll see with Chinese medicine, traditional medicine as well, the environment plays a big part in how we balance our doshas. And the one that we're going to talk about, there's a lot of environmental aspects, but it's seasonality. Seasonality plays a big part in Ayurvedic nutrition. And coming into the winter season, there's 2 doshas they call that get aggravated. Vata in the early winter season, and Kapha. If you look at your chart, I'll just briefly talk. Vata is space and air, is the cold and dryness. And Kapha is earth and water, so it's damp and cold and heavy. So what Ayurvedic nutrition tries to do is promote pacifying of those doshas and aggravating of, or heightening our other dosha, the Pitta, sorry. So I've made an Ayurvedic chai, and it has special spices that are warming spices to stimulate, and there's even, I think it's cardamom that helps to dampen the wetness from our lungs and stomach. And this is the Ayurvedic way to approach pacifying those winter doshas, bringing out warmth, bringing out energy, helping us through the sedentary, kind of gloomy, gluggy parts of winter, and getting through at the beginning part of winter of the dryness, and kind of keeping moisture in our system. And then as we get to the damp, congestive ailments in late winter, they use a lot of herbs to help pull that dampness. So this is actually hemp milk. You make this tea. You guys have the recipe for this. It's very, very easy to make. Take a pot of water. Actually, if you're making it just for, I think it's for, 4 to 6 people. Just take 2 cups of water and we'll pour that into a big pot or like a medium-sized pot. Boil the water. Put in some tea bags, probably 3 black tea bags or 2 tablespoons of black tea. You can also use peppermint tea or anything like that. This is all on your pamphlet as well. Put a lid on that, let it seep, turn off the heat for about 20 minutes, and then go ahead and take those tea bags out. And you want to go ahead and add all of your herbs. So we do cinnamon sticks, cloves, ginger, cardamom, peppercorns, black peppercorns. And then you want to bring your, and then you're going to add a quart of milk. We used hemp milk, but you can use cow milk, soy milk. It's better to use like a fattier milk. So I would stay away from rice milk. If you can, maybe use almond or coconut if you're trying for something like that. Just holds the herbs better. And then you want to heat that back up to a boil and then just slowly down to a simmer for about a half an hour. And after that, after you've done that, then you can add honey to sweeten it. And you've got your own chai. So I made this one pretty spicy. I made it throughout the week different times, but this time I must have made it just a little too spicy. So I added a little bit more hemp milk, and you might want to tone down the spices. I did the recipe I provided you, I totally tinkered with, and I made it more moderate, but you're welcome to tone down any of the spices if you want. But this is a traditional Ayurvedic drink in the winter.
This is something we could make in the crock pot as well. Right?
Yeah,
It says
definitely.
black peppercorns. You put the whole peppercorn in? Or
Yeah.
You don't grind it? Just put
No,
the whole-
you just put it in, and you're gonna have some spices and
Or in the bottom of the...
totally in the bottom, and you can just stir them. And when you pour it, you can either filter it or just. They seem to stick to the bottom a lot when I pour
Right.
it. So
Right. Okay. Thank you.
yeah, it's interesting. So if you have any questions about the characteristics of the spices, I can answer them. But most of them just have really strong warming and energizing properties. Oh, yes.
Did you say you tried it with peppermint?
You can do it with peppermint. I didn't. This is caffeinated, so you're the only kid in the room right now, but I was afraid there'd be a lot of kids that wanted to try it, and I was going to try to do 2, but I didn't have enough pots. You can actually use peppermint, or you can use like a decaf tea. It'll change the taste a little bit, but I've seen recipes with it.
Okay.
And lastly, for the beginning part of the winter, for the vata qualities, which are dryness, the traditional Ayurvedic way of drinking this tea would be to add ghee to it. And you can also add coconut oil to kind of bring, they say that fat brings the spices and the energy into the tissues of the system and allows it to communicate. So it's another way to enjoy it.
Great. It sounds really yummy.
It is good.
So we also wanted to talk to you about traditional Chinese medicine's view on eating healthy over the winter season. So if you're not familiar with Chinese medicine likes to look at each season as being associated with an organ system in the body, and the organ systems in Chinese medicine are not exactly the same as ours, but they perform similar functions. And sure, yeah, certainly. Stephanie's going to pass these around. These are a cinnamon black bean brownie with a ginger sweet potato frosting, and the recipes are in your handout. So I'll talk about what's in those brownies in just a minute. But they are gluten-free. There is some dairy in the frosting, but totally gluten-free, and the brownies themselves are dairy-free. So in the wintertime, in traditional Chinese medicine, we think of winter as being associated with the kidney. And the kidney is the organ system in the body that is responsible for water, helping us to maintain water balance when we're exposed to the extreme dryness of winter, and also the sudden amounts of water that can come when it snows or when there's sudden rainstorms. So winter is a time with great fluctuations in water, so we want to really nourish the kidney during the winter. Chinese medicine also looks at winter as a yin season. So in Chinese medicine, we have the dichotomy of yin and yang. And so the yin energy is that which is female, dark, kind of internal, whereas the yang energy is kind of external and day and high energy. So yang would be associated with summer and with spring. So in the winter, we want to eat foods that are in line with that idea of yin energy, because we, in the winter, want to conserve our qi, which is our vital force, according to Chinese medicine. And so in order to conserve our qi, we need to have foods that are grounding and stabilizing, foods that in nature kind of serve a role of storage and conservation. And in addition, we need foods that are going to be warming, because the body, the qi needs to circulate in the body. That yang, which is not being supported by the external environment, needs a little bit of support from our food as well. So I know that it's kind of confusing to explain if you're not familiar with Chinese medicine, so I would highly encourage you to visit students in our acupuncture department for a better explanation. But the underlying principle is that we want warming, we want grounding, we want rooted, and we want foods that are really going to nourish that kidney and that water balance in the body. So this recipe that I have made is adapted from a couple recipes, and the brownies are really amazing because they have black beans and no flour of any kind. And black beans in Chinese medicine are an extremely warming bean. They're thought of as the most warming of the beans because they help to promote the circulation of blood in the body. And black beans are also very associated with the kidney in Chinese medicine. So that kind of means they're thought of as a kidney tonic. And a tonic would be something that would both balance the yin and the yang energy in the kidney. So black beans are a kidney tonic, and they're also very warming. And so they're a perfect food for winter in these brownies. And then the black beans are paired with sweet potatoes. And the sweet potatoes are a root vegetable. And so in traditional Chinese medicine, those roots and those tubers that grow beneath the earth, they conserve energy. They kind of hold in the energy of the environment. They grow in darkness. So they're very yin in nature. And they're really considered a very nourishing food for winter from traditional Chinese medicine. So sweet potatoes are also digestive supportive, according to Chinese medicine. So they kind of help to make the entire brownie more of a meal, really, than a treat, something that you could eat at any time and it wouldn't throw your body off balance. So the kind of final Chinese medicine element to these brownies is the warming spices. So there's cinnamon in the brownie and ginger in the frosting, and these are both gently warming spices that kind of help to move that yang in the body, and they gently warm us rather than warming us very quickly. In the winter, we might think of eating cayenne, for example, as being something that's very warming. But in fact, cayenne or hot chili or curry is so warming that it makes us start to sweat, and it actually drives heat out of the body and cools us down. And that's why hot chilies are eaten in India and those sorts of very hot regions. So cinnamon and ginger, on the other hand, are much more gentle in their warming qualities. So from just a regular Western nutrition perspective, these brownies also are extremely low glycemic index compared to a regular brownie because of the high amounts of fiber in the beans, the fiber in the sweet potato frosting. They also contain protein. Because of the beans, they're much higher in protein than a regular brownie would be. So they help us to stay full over a long period of time. And the cinnamon, we are learning, has very blood sugar stabilizing effects, and so that kind of gives an even more slowly nourishing quality. Yeah, question?
You said they were high in protein. About how much grams of protein is in it?
Well, I didn't calculate that out, but usually a serving of beans probably has somewhere like 8 grams of protein or somewhere around there. So I mean, this is just shy of 1 serving of beans.
I know a lot of people, and they go and say high protein, and then it's 2 grams.
No, it would definitely be between 5 and 8 for the brownie. So, and the sugar, we only added there's a half a cup of sugar in the whole brownie recipe, so very little added sugar, and then there's a little bit of maple syrup in the frosting. So much less sugar than is traditionally used in baked goods. And they may taste a little bitter to some of you. I think I put a little more cocoa powder than is called for in the recipe. So I would recommend not adding extra. Yeah.
2 questions about the recipe. So in your frosting, did you use the cream cheese or the tofu?
This frosting has cream cheese in it.
Okay.
And there were a couple going around that didn't have any frosting on them. I guess those are gone. But that frosting was made with the cream cheese. It also works well with the tofu. The cream cheese is going to be a little better kind of for food safety if you're going to have the brownies sitting out for a really long period of time, because tofu you don't want to leave out of the fridge more than a couple hours if it's raw.
Mm-hmm. And then did you use chocolate chips in this?
There are no chocolate chips, just the cocoa. And the great thing about this recipe is you just throw everything in the blender, and that's it. You just open up a couple cans of beans, you throw the other ingredients in the blender, you blend, you pour it into muffin cups, and you bake it for 20 minutes, and it's done. It's really easy, something kids can do. It's pretty foolproof. And you'll notice the brownies are really fudgy and dense, but I like that. I don't know. And then the sweet potato frosting, of course, is pretty easy to make as well. Yeah.
Have you ever tried doing it in a mini muffin?
That would be good.
Yeah, I don't have one, but I've seen other people do it. And
So you just cut the cooking time.
yeah, you just kind of watch and you see the tops start to get a little dry. And once the tops look dry, you can take them out. And they're going to be really fudgy in the middle when you take them out, but as they cool, they'll densen up a little bit. Yeah.
And just one question about, because I'm not familiar with this term, flax eggs.
Yeah.
Does that really mean an egg, or no, it means what's in the parentheses?
It is equal to an egg. So the flax eggs are equal to 2 real eggs. And so that would be a vegan egg substitute. Because they make egg substitutes in boxes that you can buy, but this is a way to make your own egg substitute.
Could you use 2 real eggs?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you could. And these were made with the flax eggs.
Okay.
But the real eggs would work well.
A lot of people have egg allergies, so it's just a great substitute. And it's a really great way to hold, how eggs kind of bring everything together and hold it. And the flax with the boiling water gets really gelatinous. So it really holds all the components together and actually expands a little bit, just like eggs do. So for your friends, if they have egg allergies, you ever have to make something for them, baking-wise, it's a good trick.
Yes.
How do you pronounce it? Sucanat? Sucanat. Is that like a sugar substitute?
It's a natural, it's kind of considered raw or semi-raw
like
sugar.
or something?
Stevia is an herb, so that would actually be a sugar substitute.
Oh. So
sucanat is sugar. It's just before they've stripped the outer kind of brown molasses-y hull off of it.
So it's more pure.
It's more pure, yeah.
Just that's refined.
Yeah.
And have you tried using dates to sweeten it? I wonder if it would be
Too fudgy.
Yeah.
I haven't tried it. They do make dried date sugar and dried coconut sugar as well, which is lower glycemic than regular.
There is, and I believe, so on the back of the handout, there's a few resources, and one of them is a blog called nourishingmeals.com. They have a couple books. I think I brought one of the books with me because I didn't. One of our recipes came from one of the books, but that blog does have a date sweetened brownie in it. So there are date sweetened brownies, and I'm sure if you learned, you could convert the recipes pretty easily. You have to play with your, moisture ratios a little bit.
And sweet potatoes and beans have a natural sweetness to them, so I actually make these at home without adding the sugar. And you would just want to make sure maybe add a little extra flax for a little extra dryness in the recipe. But you can get used to the taste of just the sweet potato sweetness on its own. It just takes a little time to get used to that. Yeah.
What's the difference between sweet potatoes and yams? I've never quite understood that.
Yeah. So botanically, what we refer to as yams are the same thing as sweet potatoes. The actual yam is a different plant that is eaten in Africa. And because people from Africa came over here and started eating sweet potatoes that looked similar in America, they called them yams. But both the dark colored and the light colored yams in the store are actually sweet potatoes. So we don't really have access to real yams here very often, except in Asian markets.
You just advertise them as yams.
Yeah, they advertise I think the dark ones as yams and the light ones as sweet potatoes, but they're the same species.
But nutrition-wise, they're both
Nutrition-wise, the darker color is going to mean more phytonutrients and more deeper orange, more beta carotene, so the vitamin A precursor.
Were you looking for
Kelly
something?
has a
I was going to say, I just found they had purple sweet potatoes.
Yes,
Yeah.
I saw those.
So I made sweet potatoes.
I was thinking about that, what it would be like to make these with purple sweet potatoes for the frosting. That would be, because I've made the mashed potatoes with them and they're bright purple.
Wow.
That might be fun for kids
Now,
too.
what nutrition-wise is different?
Well, the purple, each color kind of is associated with certain phytochemicals, and so purple is associated with the anthocyanins, which are a compound that it's a different compound than the beta carotene, but it is also very antioxidant supportive of the body. Yeah, that's why we want to eat a range of colors so that we can take advantage of all of these. So, and I wanted to mention one last thing about these brownies. Because of the high amounts of cinnamon and ginger, they're also very antibacterial. Cinnamon has actually been shown in studies to be more effective than amoxicillin against H. pylori infection in the stomach because it's so antibacterial. So during the winter when we are prone to all these infections, it's good to include these spices that kind of help our bodies fight off. So yeah, speaking of the antioxidants and the antibacterial, maybe we should talk about some of these fruits and vegetables.
So one of the wonderful things about antioxidants in food is that synergistically, the way a food works in our body, we have our own antioxidant systems in our body that work and are there innately to support our health and fight precancerous cells and things in our body. And when we take in these whole foods and we take in these fruits and vegetables and colorful foods in our diet, we are allowing that system and giving it a huge boost, giving it gas. But when we take in antioxidants in a pill form and stuff, even though they're like high grade, it's actually not working as synergistically in our body and may have even less of an effect than having just a whole foods diet and balance with our foods and our colors and our plate and just keeping that rainbow on our plate. So it's kind of exciting as nutritionists to understand that in a little bit more of like a scientific level. We had to do through school, and it just makes us really excited to be able to say, well, the rage with antioxidants and pills is you can find it in your food. So we're going to more of a whole foods. At Bastyr, we like to approach the whole person through whole foods and whole healing approaches. And so our last dish, and I'm not going to walk around with it, you guys can bring up your plates at the end or get fresh plates, is almond artichoke dip. I've been making it throughout the week. So I actually made it this morning because it's the simplest thing I've ever made. As long as you guys have a food processor, it doesn't have to be a fancy one at all, but a food processor with an Escalade. So you have the recipe in there, and for like a serving for about 4 to 6 people, you would just take 1 cup of almonds, and you might want to soak them for 6 to 12 hours. So this is something I was not used to doing, was soaking my nuts. But once I did it, I was like, whoa, this is so easy, and you kind of see all this stuff that comes off. So just put that, cover it with some water. They say purified water, just cover it with some water, or if you leave water out for 6 hours or overnight, it takes the chlorine out of it. So you can do that at some point and then use that water. I have a pitcher on my counter. I do that every day. I fill it up with water before I go to bed, and the next day I've got chlorine-free water. And so you can use that water to soak your nuts. So anyways, you can just pour enough water that it covers all your almonds. And then after they've soaked for 6 hours or overnight, you don't have to take the skins off, but I find that when I'm washing them, the skins, after being soaked overnight, already come off. So I took all the skins off all the almonds when I made this. It might be a little bit different with them on. So then you're just going to soak your almonds overnight and take that cup. put it in your blender. Sorry, I did not in my ear. I don't know. Put that in the blender, and then I'll get the recipe out just to remind. Then I think it's a 1/4 of a cup for that serving size. It's a 1/4 of a cup of extra virgin olive oil, a 1/4 of a cup of lemon juice. You know, fresh squeezed if you can. That takes about 2 lemons to get a 1/4 of a cup. Actually, depending on the size, you can take just 1 lemon to get a 1/4, but 1 to 2 lemons to get a 1/4 of a cup. And then you're gonna add. Let me just look at it because I made this morning. But you are gonna add. So then you get a can of artichokes. Doesn't have to be artichoke hearts. It can be artichoke parts. I mean, the whole artichoke's gonna be in there. Doesn't matter how it's cut. So buy the cheapest one you want. Organic artichokes. You're gonna take them out, rinse them in a strainer, put that in your food processor on top of this. 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt, and then 2 tablespoons of organic capers. Let me see if there's, that's right. Let's see if I missed anything.
Garlic.
Oh yes, and then you don't want to forget the garlic and the red onion. Okay, so 1 clove of garlic. You're gonna see that really comes out in this, even just 1 clove. So you can use a small one if you want. And then about a 1/2 cup of, or a 1/2 cup or a half of a small red onion. And you can just coarsely chop that. That doesn't have to be minced really fine, which is so great. So, because I can't stand having to finely cut onions, it takes forever. This is just cut, throw it in there. You get all this stuff in your food processor, lock it, and just push go, and literally within 30 seconds, it's smooth and it's ready to go. It's a raw dish, so it's not baked. All the nutrients from, from the onions and the garlic and stuff, that doesn't really bake out so much, but it's everything's raw. You're getting a lot of antioxidants. Garlic and onions have a lot of antibacterial properties, so going into the winter, we want to promote our immune system with the antioxidants, and we already have natural immune fighting properties in this dip. Plus, it makes for a really good substitution from traditional artichoke dips. I'm not saying those are bad, but this is another nice substitution. It goes really great with celery. I think it probably goes great with carrots too, and we also have an array of crackers. Everything's gluten-free up here when you taste it. But it's a great way to get more fruits and vegetables in when you're having that holiday party, and also for your kids. My daughter she loves this dip.
How long could you keep it out on the table?
You know, the wonderful thing is the lemon kind of preserves the color in it. But what I do when I have something like that is I squeeze a little lemon over top, and it kind of keeps it from going back about 4 hours.
Lemon anywhere in the recipe, so that.
Oh, it's about I think it's 1/4 or 1/2 cup of lemon juice.
It's a 1/2 cup or 1/4?
Oh, is it not in there?
It's not in there.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. That's not good.
1/4 cup of lemon juice?
1/4, so it's the same amount as the olive oil. So if you're doing this recipe, it's 1/4 cup of lemon juice. I'm sorry, I thought I double checked this. I've been making it so much recently that I just said it off my head. But yeah, it's 1/4 cup of lemon juice. Make sure you have that in there. You can use a lemon squeeze or fresh lemons.
How many batches is that?
That is, let me think for a second. I actually have a little bit at home as well, because I was like, we do not need all of this. But I did 4 cups of almonds, so 4 batches. But like I said, I have a little bit still at home that I knew that we wouldn't need. But I wanted to make sure to have enough. I wasn't sure how many people would be here. So it stays on your breath. That's the only thing that I'm like, it's kind of bummer about this dish, but as long as everybody at the party is eating it, doesn't really matter.
And it's really high in fiber.
Yeah,
too,
high in
the
fiber.
artichokes.
Yeah, high protein.
Yeah, really tasty. And then we also have some more kid-friendly snacks here.
So at the back, part of your handout underneath we included some other recipes for you guys to enjoy throughout the holidays. And the way our handout went, we had our intuitive eating section and that normal eating piece at the back. But up at the top on the back, you can see cute, interactive, healthy holiday snacks for kids. These aren't colored pictures, but you can kind of get the idea of some of these cute ways to like play with fruits and vegetables and make this fun snack for kids. I tried to replicate these Pinterest things this morning in about 10 minutes. probably a little bit longer, but, and they didn't come out as beautiful. I think it takes some talent, like some artistic talent maybe to like put some stuff together. Organic marshmallows are just not the same as the big ones, so this guy doesn't look the same, but, but anyway, so we just want to implicate that it's fun to eat with fruits and vegetables if you can kind of normalize it to your kids and make it fun and interactive, and kids are really attracted to things that look cool. It's just a fun way to kind of, around the holiday seasons when so much sugary foods are pushed and cookies and everything, this is a fun way to be like, hey, look at this really cool candy cane with a yogurt dipping sauce. I didn't have a dish like this, but if you had a cute little dish, you can put little yogurt or some sort of dipping sauce in for the fruit. Kids can dip it in. I put 5 really great Pinterest ones on here that I think everybody would really enjoy. Some with fruits, some with vegetables, and I didn't make them all.
What's the
check it out.
picture of the candy cane and the star? What's the star?
So I tried to replicate that one kind of. It's just like yogurt, so it's like a star. It's a star dish, and it's for dipping like your banana and strawberries in like a vanilla yogurt. So
And the snap pea thing, is that blueberries?
I tried to get
blueberries
snap
or
peas.
something?
Those are pomegranate seeds. So that one's beautiful. It's on one of the links. If you guys get to check that one out, I love that one. I tried to do that, but I couldn't find snap peas where I went. But it's a snap pea tree with fresh pomegranate seeds, and there's a little cheddar cheese or like some sort of cheese star, and these are pretzels down here. And then right here is like a little dipping sauce, like a ranch or whatever
Very
kind
cute.
of sauce you want. Yeah, so just fun ways to get, more fruits and vegetables into our kids' diets, and I don't know.
And adults.
And adults too.
Like to do this at a holiday party too.
Yeah.
So
So,
before you guys come up and sample the delicious dip, do you have more questions? General kind of healthy holiday eating questions?
Is there a soup there too?
That's more of the tea. So we have a lot
Yeah,
more
a
of
lot
the tea.
of
You can
tea.
come up and keep filling up your cup with tea.
should have told you guys to bring your to-go cups.
Yeah, question.
What would you suggest? I can't handle cinnamon and cloves.
Got it.
What would you suggest to use in place of those two?
That's a good question. I'm not the spice expert, but
We are-
turmeric and cumin can actually be really great in teas. Cardamom is a very strong flavor. I made the mistake of making this. I like it. I've been making it all week long, but I like to make it and have it sit overnight. Cardamom can be very stimulating. So if you do a lot of cardamom at night, it can really stimulate you and have a hard time with your brain settling down. So you ever use cardamom, but I would be just careful of that.
Well, cardamom, I have no problems with.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
not vegan.
and nutmeg, ironically, nutmeg is great. I mean, it's in here, but it's a relaxing herb, and it like supposed to induce sleep and relaxation. So that makes a nice one too.
You can also add dried rose hips to this to increase the vitamin C content of the dish if you don't like the taste of those. Okay. Yeah.
So the dish we have a lot of these books up there in the dispensary, but this is one of my favorites called the Ayurvedic Cookbook. It's got it talks more about the Ayurvedic nutrition principles and Ayurvedic healing modality I was telling you guys about, and it just gives you everything right there, real easy, eating with the seasons, figuring out your dosha, gives you a little test to figure out what your predominant dosha or doshas are in your body, and how to balance that, and it gives you meals, and I actually got our recipe out of this one. So this, if you're looking for an Ayurvedic cookbook, I think this is my favorite so far. And then when we talked about intuitive eating, this woman, Evelyn Triboli, has done a lot of great work, and this is her book, Intuitive Eating. We put a link on our pamphlet to intuitive eating around the holidays. She has a really wonderful text or tips about intuitive eating holidays. And then one of the other links that I thought was fabulous, if you get a chance to look at it, just has some really great points about eating and just enjoying the holidays, is in our resource section, and it was put out by, where is it? It's actually, I don't know who it was by right now, it's some college, I think, but Tips for Healthy Holiday Eating, that is a really great link. I looked at a ton of links, that was my favorite, so.
Yes,
What about savory flavored things? I like savory rolls and savory stuff.
Yeah, well, this was kind of one of the more like raw, fresh, savory
Right.
ideas that we included, but
Yeah. We were really wanting to do a ton of recipes, but I mean, we'd keep you guys here all day long, so we figured.
Recently we just had a recipe that we made for lemon chickpea muffins, which are a more savory. We didn't include this in here, but if you were to look up online, it was put out by the Culinary Institute of America, and they designed these muffins with chickpeas in them, so another kind of high fiber, but they're more of a savory meal muffin than dessert muffin.
Yeah. Anita, there's two things. Anita put this wonderful stewed persimmon and herb bite savory snack or holiday dish in the pamphlet, which looks fabulous. And then one of the links, it's right under the Christmas chocolate bark. And then I did include there's a link in the resources section to that blog I was telling you about, nourishingmeals.com, and that has over 300 recipes on it. Includes baking recipes, savory recipes, dinner recipes, soups, spreads, everything you could think about. So if you are looking for some good recipe choices, we use that blog all the time at the clinic, and it's a really great one.
The Bastyr Pinterest page for the Bastyr Clinic. It's something that the students we like pick recipes that we see from all over the internet that we think are healthy, and we add them to the Bastyr Pinterest page.
So I guess that's a second one. The nourishingmeals.com is different from that, and then there's a Bastyr Pinterest page that we put on there as well.
How do we quickly find that? 'Cause I've got links for everything else from the Bastyr, but I don't.
We have it on here.
Yeah, it's in the links section.
It's in the
And there's a difference between the Bastyr University Pinterest page and the Pinterest page that they created, which is for the clinic specifically to share with patients, like share recipes with patients that might be helpful. Because there's a Bastyr Pinterest page where it's recipes that we created and health tips that we have created by our students. And then there's, I guess, another one in turn, like more that you guys share with patients and stuff like that. Right.
So I know it's an awkward place, but the only place this fit was right below the ginger cake with maple cashew sauce. I've made that a lot around the holidays. That's a good cake, but that's where our resource section is if you guys are looking.
And this is the student one?
The top one right there is the nutrition Pinterest
Yeah, that's
page.
the student.
Yeah.